Good evening, guys, and happy Monday to all of your sunshiny faces. Guys, I've had such a productive Monday. I've honestly keep questioning it and thinking that today is Tuesday because of how much stuff, not like stuff that I've gotten done, but just I got up really early today and just again, being generally productive today. I feel like I got, like I said, a lot of stuff sort of done. And yeah, so I've all day been thinking oh, today's Tuesday. I was like, I could get my grocery list done for today already, and then I was like, my sales papers don't even come until tomorrow. And also too, well, Jewel has theirs come out super late at night on Monday, so that's actually what I was looking at right now. Now I'm gonna go take a shower, get to bed. But Jewel has a thing that I guess actually maybe sort of started last week, but they didn't have it very well advertised. They're doing sort of, I don't really know. It sort of seems like a sweepstakes sort of thing. I was trying to do it on the app, which I guess you can do it on the computer too, desktop, and might wind up working a little bit better because it kept sort of not freezing, but I don't know, it wasn't loading right. But they have this sort of game sweepstakes thing. It's almost a little like Monopoly, I think, but not really. And I actually think it started last week because it said June 1st that it started, which would have been, I think, starting last week's sales. But I got a notification, a little pop-up notification that came up on my phone, and it was oh, don't miss out on the such and such game or whatever. I forget what it's even called, fresh, not the fresh pass, but that's the thing that you can get that I think has free delivery and a couple other perks to having it, but it's a monthly subscription sort of. So anyways, but it's called something like Fresh something, I don't know, I think. But like I was saying, it is some type of sweepstakes thing or something like that, and or a game. And I don't know if actually it says no purchase necessary, and I think it said something too I don't know, I was trying to sort of read the description and also too I don't know, the whole thing about it. But it was oh, when you buying, spending more money doesn't actually increase your chances of winning or anything like that. Monopoly, again, when you would spend certain amounts of money, you get extra tickets or whatever, which technically would increase your chances of winning. But I don't know if it's the same sort of thing, but they're just saying you don't have to spend any more money to really increase it, but technically you still would if that's still the case. And like I said, I didn't really get into it enough to find that out, but it's a tiny little blur up at the top of the home screen that lets you know that this thing is sort of going on. And I honestly didn't even see it when I went on the app last week. It wasn't until today that I saw it, and from what I read from the terms and conditions, because normally I don't read all that stuff, but I was just sort of looking to try and figure out exactly what it was, because like I said, it doesn't make it super obvious. And I was okay, so this is just sort of replacement for Monopoly, or what is it? It's supposed to run, I think, June 1st until the end of July. I think the last week in July, so I think it's supposed to run for 2 months, or probably, I think it's 4 weeks, something like that. So like I said, I was looking at that, but I was trying to understand and sort of make sense of exactly how it works. And like I said, there's sweepstakes and prizes and all this kind of stuff, but then I also didn't know if it was like he said, sort of work the same, oh, you get game pieces for spending money, because again, I feel it has something to do with that, but again, I don't know, I'll have to figure out later. But I just feel it's really weird, if it started last week, they literally didn't have any mention of it up until this week, because like I said, that was the first time I got the little blurb notification on my phone, the little pop-up thing, and then I was oh, what's this? And then I clicked on it and went to go investigate, and that's when I found out what it was. Like I said, I'm gonna have to do some more investigating, I guess, sort of on that. But for today, so I was looking into that for today. And again, was started sort of on my grocery list a little bit because I started looking at Jewel stuff. But I also got editing and uploading done. I did a couple loads of laundry today. I did dishes. Me and Jack were able to finish our little thing that we had started working on yesterday, our organization sort of thing that we were doing. We finished that yesterday, or today. It took us about an hour actually only today to get done. And then I ended up, also I made dinner for tonight. I ended up making shrimp scampi for dinner tonight. And I also went out and investigated the vegetable garden. And really weird thing. So I found like this hole the other day. Like I think maybe it was on the day after I think we power washed the deck. So on Saturday, I went out there. I found this like little tiny hole. It didn't look too big. I was like, oh, maybe a squirrel got in here, whatever. Like I said, it wasn't like too noticeable. And again, I was just sort of like, okay, I'll just cover it up, whatever. Like hopefully it didn't really disturb any of my seeds that are over here, you know, starting and stuff like that. And it was over near, like, mom is doing, I think, 2 different types of like tea leaves. And so I was like, oh, maybe because we've never planted those before, I don't really know if maybe they attract like a certain type of, you know, like, again, squirrel, critter, I don't know, something like that. I was like, maybe that was it. Well, I looked outside into the garden today, and, you know, I had all of the wood chips laid out so nicely on the top over all of the dirt. Well, I looked outside and there was like a big hole. Like all this dirt was like all pushed up on one side. Not one side, but like was all like pushed up on top of the wood chips. And there was like a pretty substantial sized hole. But again, after me and Jack, so I saw it sort of this morning and I was like, what is that? And then I went outside, like I said, after me and Jack had finished up with, like I said, our little organizing thing that we were working on. And I went outside with my dad and like we were looking, and there was a couple of other small holes, like again maybe about like that size, but this one was like pretty big, like maybe about that size or so, the other one that I saw. And there were multiple of those like small, you know, like silver dollar sized, maybe a little bit bigger sized, like sort of holes that were out there, and they were sort of all over. But like I said, originally I was like, well, maybe it is some type of like, maybe it's even a bird, you know, like something like that, like going after the seeds that are in the ground or something, I don't know. But this other big hole was right near our tomato plants, and I was like, honestly, we did not wind up planting any seeds near the tomato plants, because the tomato plants that we did were all ones that we got at the store. We already bought them. Like I was telling you guys too, like we did spinach, a row of spinach like plants that we already had, and then I sprinkled in right alongside those some spinach seeds so that we'll possibly get some more, because again, those were just the leftover seeds that we had still from last year. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle them in there, we'll see what comes up. So again, I was like, noticed that like there were clearly wouldn't have been any seeds around there at all, which was then very weird, and sort of, like I said, struck me as very weird that like something would be digging there if they weren't looking for like seeds or whatever. So then I started thinking, I know that our dogs have gotten skunked several times in the backyard. We've seen a skunk several times in our front yard, and honestly, we can smell skunks a lot. I think I was telling you guys too, was it last year maybe or something like that? Maybe it wasn't last year. Was it earlier this year? Something? No, I think maybe it was last year. I don't know, fall or something like that. But there was a skunk that was outside, and I heard it like fighting with something in like the driveway. Like I heard it, like it was like not hissing, but like I could smell it afterwards. This is how I know that it was a skunk. Maybe there was a cat and a skunk fighting each other, like, but I just heard like some really weird noises going on like right outside my window, and then a couple seconds later I smelled the skunk. So I know that it was fighting with something. But I've read that, like, I think skunks, now I've seen them near the bottom of the bird feeders, so I think they like seeds. So again, I was thinking like, okay, that wouldn't be too weird. I guess maybe it's getting into the vegetable garden bed and it's eating some of the seeds. I don't know. I just feel like eating the stuff off the ground near the bird feeders where it doesn't have to dig maybe is easier. But then I started thinking too, maybe it's actually bugs that it's eating and digging up, which I'm not opposed to, like if it's finding grubs or whatever, because I believe skunks do also like to eat bugs, like dig them up out of the ground or whatever and eat them, which isn't really a squirrel thing to do. Again, if it was like nuts or whatever, I would think that, you know, it would be a squirrel. But the fact that I don't really think that like squirrels are digging nuts up now, like I think they bury them in the fall or whatever and then they go dig them up in the spring. I think it's pretty much almost past that point where I don't really see them digging so much maybe for nuts. I don't know. But like, I don't know, again, it was just weird. And like, we tilled over all of the ground that was out there already. And like I said, though, this hole, it was actually, like I said, pretty deep. And then it went a little like over to one side. Like, it clearly, something was like not burrowing inside of it, but like was definitely like trying to get something out. And again, I was thinking maybe bunnies, but I think bunnies like to eat the greens on plants, not necessarily liking to dig. Because again, too, I've seen a bunny rabbit in our front yard like last year or 2 years ago or something like that. Again, not super uncommon, so I wouldn't see, you know, like not expect to see that. But we live in a very suburban neighborhood, like it's definitely not deer or anything like that. You know, our garden bed's right in between ours and our neighbor's house. You know, again, it's probably no more than like 10 feet between ours and our neighbors, maybe close to 20 feet at most between, like I said, ours and our neighbor's house. Like, you know, we're very close, you know. Like, weirdly enough though, we did see a fox in our backyard before we had our fence up. I had the windows open one summer, and I heard our neighbor say something like, "Oh my gosh, is that a fox?" And I was like, they have to be crazy, right? Like, they didn't just say like, "Is that a fox?" So I quick run to the back door and I look and I see this little red critter running across our back lawn, and like it was very like red, like it had like a red coat, so I definitely know that it was a fox, and it was built like a fox. Like, it wasn't like a coyote, it wasn't a dog, it wasn't anything like that. Because you guys know, like, foxes are almost like a weird mix between like cat and like a dog, sort of, because they're like very thin. They're not like built really like dogs are, you know, sort of. They've got very like thin little legs and stuff like that. And so, like I said, this one definitely struck me as being a fox. And I was like, our neighbors really were right, like, you know, because I saw it too, running, like I said, right across the backyard. But again, I don't think that it's a fox. I think that it is maybe a skunk. Other than that, we have voles. Yes, which is like a type of almost like a mole, but it's not. But they do release like toxins if something tries to eat them. We found a couple of them dead in our yard, and we've seen some of them, but they're real little tiny critters. Like I said, like the size of like a rat. Probably smaller than that, probably between like a mouse and a rat size almost. Again, they're sort of creepy when you see them running, because you really don't see them running, you just see the ground moving beneath them and like the grass and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, if they get into a clearing, you can definitely tell that it's like a vole. I've seen one before, and I've seen like 3 dead ones, because the cats like to eat them. However, they have some type of toxin in their skin that gets released. The cats don't actually like to eat them, but they will, you know, go after them. And so a lot of times they will, you know, like I said, you'll wind up finding some, if you have cats in the neighborhood, which we do, some that are deceased in the driveway, which we have found a couple times. But the cats like will not like eat them or anything like that, because they don't, like, they have the toxins in their skin. Because my mom got freaked out one time. We had to go to like a whole wildlife center to learn about them, because our dog picked one up and was like messing with one in the backyard. And at first my mom thought it was just like a mouse or whatever, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrifying." But it turned out that, like I said, you know, like our dog kept like throwing it up in the air, like wouldn't like bite it, because again, it was like that toxin or whatever that they have. So not like they're poisonous, but they have, like I said, some type of just protective toxin on them to keep, hopefully keep them alive. But I said, a lot of times cats still wind up getting to them, but they won't like eat them like a mouse. They will just normally wind up leaving them. So like I was saying, I don't think that it's that. And I really can't figure out anything else that it would be, like I said, especially to make that significant size of like a hole. Like, and on top of that too, like even a raccoon, like raccoons will go after our trash. They wouldn't be digging around in our garden bed really. So like I said, I don't see that it would be that either. And I don't really think that they would, again, go after like grubs or seeds or bugs or whatever. And so the weird thing though is that I did hear what sounded like a cricket. At first this morning I thought it was a bird, and then I kept hearing it. I kept going to the sink and I kept hearing it, and it was really loud. Like I could hear it through the window. And I'm thinking that it's some type of like cricket, like something like that. Maybe it's a really big cricket, I don't know, or something that's making some type of noise, and maybe it's attracted to that. And so like I said, the only thing that really is making sense for me is that it is some type of critter that I'm thinking skunk, maybe thinking that it likes bugs, because like I was saying though, we tilled up all the ground over there and we found no like real nuts or seeds or anything like that, like walnuts or acorns or anything like that, like buried in the garden bed, like that a squirrel would be coming back for, and also that much, because like I said, we found like these maybe like 5, no more than 10 of like these little holes, and then the one big one. So what I did read though was that skunks actually do not like certain smells, funny enough, as much as they stink. And one of those things is citrus. So with the shrimp scampi that I made for dinner, I cut up lemon to go with it, and I left the lemon, some of the lemon peels actually out near the garden bed to hopefully deter whatever critter it is. If it is a skunk, then hopefully it doesn't like that and it will stay away. They also don't like the smell of predators' urine, so that's why, although we've seen them in the backyard, like that's the other thing too, is if it was a skunk, but knowing that we've seen the skunks in the backyard, the dogs have gotten sprayed by skunks, the dogs mark their territory, the dogs pee in the backyard, you know, and they still don't really seem to care about that. If they're hungry enough, they'll still come in the yard to look for whatever it is they're looking for. Like I said, I think the dogs have at least been sprayed. I think Bliss has been sprayed twice. I think the puppies maybe Bliss has been sprayed, I think, between 2 to 3 times, and the puppies at least once, I think twice. So like I said, it definitely has been in the backyard. Like the urine doesn't really keep them away, but like I was saying, you know, it's definitely something, and I don't want it to get, you know, like into anything, especially like right now, because I have a lot of little baby seedlings coming up. Like I'm concerned for their well-being right now, a lot that is coming up right now, and I just don't want this thing, whatever it is, digging, you know, pretty substantial sized holes all over the place looking for whatever it's looking for. And we've never had this problem really ever in the past. We did have a problem, like I think one of the first years with I forget what type of bug it is, some type of like moth, but what is that called? Like caterpillar. And I think actually it was from the Delphinia, because every year since then I have cut down our Delphinia. There's some type of specific caterpillar that actually, or like moth, I guess, that lays its eggs inside of the Delphinia, and if you don't cut it down far enough in the winter, like they live, like, you know, hibernate in the stalks over winter, and so if you don't cut them down, they actually will then wind up just going through and eating the entire plant, and like it looks really weird. And that's what we figured out had happened the first year, and then every year after that I cut it down. And like I said, that first year we did find some of the same like caterpillars were all over our garden, and so we had to go out there and basically manually smush all of them. But that was the only year that I had that problem, and ever since then we've cut down the Delphinia like over winter, and then it just comes back. But I've never had that problem since we've been doing that, so I think that it was coming from that plant and then going out onto other plants as well. So like I said, that's really the only like pests and critters that we really ever had. And again, sometimes I will find little tiny holes sometimes in some of the garden beds or whatever, but like, I don't know, this just seems really weird to me. So there is some other things too that you can get, like little, I saw these cute little things. They were sort of expensive though, but they're on Amazon. They're actually motion sensor lights, but they look like eyeballs. So it actually, like, again, if a smaller critter walks up to it, the like motion sensor light will go off, and it looks like eyes, like of a predator. And so I thought that was kind of cool. Again, I don't know necessarily how well it works, but one of the big deterrents that, again, isn't like sprays or anything like that, is like a motion sensor light. But we don't have a light over on that side of our house. I think it would be pretty nice to have one over there, but I wouldn't want it like blaring right into our neighbor's yard or right into their house pretty much, because like I said, we're really close right on that side. And so again, I was like thinking about that, but like it'd have to be something that's really small, and probably too not even like electrically run, like it'd have to be like a solar powered little light or something like that. But I was thinking about that, like a little small motion sensor solar light sort of thing. And again, it might be helpful for keeping out like a critter, but again, we have one in the backyard backyard, and we've still gotten skunks in the backyard, so I still don't really see that as being a thing that would wind up working. So I'm gonna check the garden bed tomorrow, again, after I put some of those like peels, the edge, like I cut them up and sort of put the peels in there so it'll smell nice and citrusy, so hopefully it keeps it away. And if not too, I can always try like a citrus spray or something like that. Like I'm hoping along the wood, because I don't want to put too much citrus inside of the garden bed and like change the pH balance of, you know, the soil and all that kind of stuff, because I know that citrus is one of those things that you don't necessarily always want to add. I think it's a pH balance to the soil. I forget what. No, is that lime? No, but I think that is citrus. Anyways, you're not supposed to add citrus though to your compost, because it takes a really long time to decompose, and it can actually kill the bad bacteria, which is actually what breaks down the nutrients in the soil, at least from what I've read. Because like I said, it like, you know, like you use all of your cleaning products smell like citrus anyway, and that's actually because it does have a beneficial use for it. It does kill bacteria, which isn't good in a garden sense where you want that bacteria in the ground, because it helps to break down and the nutrients in the soil for your plants. So in the case of like composting, you don't want to wind up adding that. So that's why I don't want to add too much of that into the actual bed, like spraying stuff in the bed or whatever. But I wouldn't mind spraying it like around the wood or just sort of around in the area to get it to smell like that, so that again it keeps the whatever critter it is, hopefully if it is a skunk, away. So like I said, you know, and hopefully it doesn't attract it or any other critter then. You know, I put something out there to try and deter whatever it is, and it actually is like something else that loves citrus, and I find that it is dug down to try and find more or something like that. I don't know. But I was really disappointed in seeing that, because I've never found, like I said, anything like that. We really have never had any trouble with anything like that too. Like I said, I've seen bunny rabbits on a very rare occasion, but I've never really seen any you know, going after the garden or anything like that, and nothing ever being like chewed up or like eaten or whatever. So like I said, I don't know, we'll have to, you know, keep monitoring the situation. But like, again, it's not going after the plants, it's just digging around in the bed. But I don't, again, want it to damage roots to the plants, because it got really close to one of the tomato plants. It's actually one of the biggest tomato plants that we have. So again, I don't know if it's looking for like, you know, bugs or whatever that are in there, or what it is. But again too, like when we dug around, you know, we mulched everything up, you know, tilled the whole ground, we didn't see any like, you know, like, oh, it's crawling with grubs or something like that, like in the bed, you know, or any type of like, you know, anything that was in there. And we just did it recently, like, you know, last weekend, was it? Not this last weekend, but the weekend before that we did it. So I'm not really thinking that, again, there'd be a whole ton of bugs that have really come in that quickly. And like I was saying, the same thing with any like nuts, acorns, you know, walnuts, anything like that, that again we would have seen, like, again, like a squirrel's trying to look for. But like, it seemed like too many holes to be a squirrel. Like I said, sometimes I'll find like a random really small little hole and then be like, oh, it's probably just a squirrel, whatever. But these were like a lot of them. So like I said, I really don't know what it was and what was looking for this in this stuff. But I don't want to like totally go out there right now, but I sort of want to see if like anything has been disturbed in there right now, to know if like, oh yeah, it is like something that's nocturnal that's hanging out there right now at night. Because like, again, I was up pretty early this morning and I noticed it, so I know it wasn't like anything like there were birds out there and it happened during the day, which again, I still don't, the birds probably wouldn't be digging holes. Like, it was definitely something that was like flinging dirt up, because it was like the dirt like went all the way to like the other side of the like the garden bed. So like I said, it definitely, I don't think was, you know, anything like that. It was something that was foraging for something out there. Which again also makes me think that it wasn't a squirrel, because normally they're just like dig like little tiny, like I said, like little pocket holes. Like this was like a deep, like I was scared something was like burrowed inside of it, because my dad was like, oh, you want to fill that in? And I was like, sure. And then I was like looking underneath and I was like sticking my hand in there, making sure there wasn't like a snake or like, you know, probably wouldn't have been a good idea to have stuck my hand in there, but like I could see like underneath and I was like, nothing's in there. You know, and I was just also concerned too if it was something that was maybe trying to eat the root roots of the plant. So that's why I sort of like stuck my hand in there and I was like, okay, I don't feel anything, because like I said, it was pretty close to that. But again, it's not like a bad thing if it's eating the bugs that are in there, but I also don't want it damaging, like I said, any of the little baby seeds that are coming up. And again, too, like flinging the seeds to like another side of the garden bed, and then I don't know that the seeds ended up on that side of the garden bed. So like I said, we'll keep an eye on that. But anyways, guys, I'll see you all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.